All right, mic check, mic check. All right, we ready to go. Without any further to do, we're gonna jump on my brother Ask a Brother podcast, hosted by Jeff St. James. This brother's having an interesting conversation today. It's about the white teacher, female teacher crisis. I assume it's got something to do with these white women loving all up on their students and not being held accountable for it. So we're gonna go ahead and get it kicked off. And I'm gonna jump in with my commentary, my 2 cents in the discussion. So, and I'll also pin and link the original video in the comments or in the description. Have you? But let's get it going.
Yes, I'm your host, Jeff St. James, and we're going to have a whole host of different people from different backgrounds coming in because I really is about building a community of like-minded people that's just open to listening and hearing from other perspectives. The revolution is going to be because of us.
Look at all these headlines. These freak ass teachers. We're gonna get into it. Know damn well if these had been men, they'd have been thrown under the jail. But they're always getting the slap on the wrist. We're gonna check it out though. We gonna check it out though. We gonna check it out though. What's up with the freaky ass bitches? What's up with the freaky ass bitch? Got pregnant by it and then got an abortion. She a witch.
People don't understand how this Peoria school district sex scandal isn't a national story. It is by far the biggest teacher-student sex scandal story I've ever heard of. And it's gotten even crazier. So if you didn't know about it, apparently there was a student, and we know this because his grandmother called the Peoria police. A student was having a fling with a teacher. She was doing his homework. She was giving him money. She was letting him drive her car. And then he did the sexual stuff. And then this same student was getting videos sent to him by another teacher. What's going on here? Then we find out that the principal of Centennial High School in the Peoria School District knew about this because a former student sent him an email. And Arizona state law says, as soon as you get a whiff of any kind of sexual grooming thing going on, you have to call the authorities. They never did that. Now we find out there's 8 or 9 football players that were getting videos and pictures from both teachers. And one of the teachers apparently doing some sexual stuff with some of the players. And the players were having a contest to see who could get the most pictures and videos. Insane, right? The superintendent actually defended the
I'm going to just put a little pin right here and say that that's not really too uncommon. You know, even when I was in high school back in the 90s, graduated in 98, you know, it's something about the athletes and the young teachers, you know, around 23 and 24, fresh out of college, that still turns them on. That testosterone still turns them on, regardless if they minors or not, right? So, you know, that's actually common that happens, right? You know, and some of these young boys, you know what I'm saying, turn these teachers out. You know, maybe their husband or boyfriend at home, you know, ain't really packing like that. And then they got this boy, 17, 18 years old, you know, that is coming on to you. You know, so it happens a lot. You know what I'm saying? Not to give an excuse for the behavior, but it seems like it's more common than admitted.
The principal, when the police finally came to investigate, stupidly asked the police, "You investigating a second teacher as well?" I mean, this guy knew about it. Everybody seemed to know about it. And now it gets even crazier. The one member of the school board is the president that happens to actually want to know what happened here and why was the law not followed. She wanted to, her name is Heather Rose, she wanted to actually have a third party investigate the failures here, make sure they don't happen again, so other kids aren't victims. The school board would not vote.
I want to know why 27-year-old Haley Beck, a teacher in the Peoria Unified School District in Arizona, hasn't been terminated from her job and put in jail where she belongs, despite reports of thousands of text messages where she allegedly discussed and planned engaging in sexual activities with one of her minor male students.
Because she's a woman, and apparently women get to go through a process of termination, unlike men who would just be thrown in jail. This is completely unacceptable because there has been a recent public outcry about this situation. This
Exactly.
was posted 3 to 4 days ago. And guess what? She has yet to be terminated. They are still just saying that they are undergoing the process of terminating her. And unfortunately, these situations are going to continue to occur because there is a very clear double standard in our society. Male underage victims are still not treated the way that they should be treated. They are not protected like they should be, but unfortunately, that's always going to be very hard to change because of the current culture against men. And I just think that more ladies need to open their eyes to this, especially if you're a...
I mean, they don't need to open their eyes are open. They don't give a fuck because it benefit them. Like she said, if it had been a male teacher, he'd have been dunked on his head, fooling around with females, sending them dick pics, right? He'd have been dunked on his head, drug out in cuffs and everything. But other way around, it's quite natural, I think. You know, maybe it's ingrained in our lizard brains that, you know, we're softer on the women. You know what I mean? But it ain't necessarily right. You know what I'm saying? Because the young men are still developing their frontal cortex. They're still underage, right? So they should be treated as minors, right? Whether they're initiated or not. You wouldn't give a male teacher any grace by him saying that the minor initiated. So whether they claim to be in love with the young man or he initiated, they're supposed to be the adults. They hired by the school to be in a position of authority, and they failed that. And they failed society, period, by preying on somebody's minor son or daughter. She should be dunked out on her head, put in jail. But they won't do that. They'll probably terminate her, but they won't, you know, be too harsh on her and all that shit. Get light sentence and all that. The only time we actually dunk on females, like hold them to the highest accountability, is when they prey on or when they hurt little children, right? It's like a hierarchy of empathy, if that's a statement, right? Men get none, women get, you know, more empathy. And the only time women, when it comes to things like this, they don't get empathy is when they prey on, when they drown babies or kill kids or something like that. Then society punishes her to the fullest extent. Anything short of that, you know, she gets a lenient sentence.
As a son.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask a Brother podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James, and today's particular and very interesting topic that I've been waiting for quite some time, but finally happy to kind of start to bring more attention to. And shout out to all the content creators that's been speaking on this for years. There seems to be an epidemic going on. It seems like there's been a wave. I don't know if it's just as much as there's more coverage, the social media. But it seems like every week there's now news reports of incidents happening involving teachers, especially of the Caucasian persuasion, if you ask me. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Jeff St. James. I kind of cover anything and everything that me and the people I work with are very interested in covering. We do interviews, we do original content. And every so often, certain trending topics and things just kind of pop up, and this being indeed one of them. Unsafe classrooms and schools with white female teachers. There is a white female teacher.
Single white female teacher.
Especially for the folks that always are often mentioning about pattern recognition. I'm starting to notice some
A
patterns in terms
patriot.
of the school. So again, if you're in the chat, please put a one in the chat. Just let me know that you're here, and what you think. And feel free to hit the super chat button if you have not done so, in terms of any particular comments or remarks that you want me to read at some point. And if you guys stick around, I'm actually going to have a surprise guest co-host for this particular episode. So stay tuned for that as well. So for starters, y'all, this is a very interesting topic, I think, for a lot of reasons. The first of which is when you've seen it in the news and it's finally starting to trend a little bit more, that isn't necessarily as much, I think, well, to a degree, as much as it is a lot of people will say, well, maybe it's more prevalent, maybe it's happening more. I'm of the opinion that I think it's just potentially starting to be recognized more. I do think that our physical social media, our actual devices have probably increased the chances for teachers and students to kind of have additional forms of interaction outside of just the classroom, which I think it can exacerbate these type of issues. But there's an elephant in the room when it comes to this stuff. And the first thing I kind of wanted to cover.
Yeah, I mean, like he said about social media, back in before social media and the iPhone, you saw your teacher at school. Maybe you was crushing on her or whatever. Never went further than that. But now, since there's such a close age in between first year teachers and, high school seniors and juniors and things like that, everybody's got social media, Instagram. You're gonna see your teacher, on your Instagram feed at some point. If y'all got the same friend, the algorithm don't care that y'all, that she may be the teacher, you may be the student. The algorithm will match friends of friends of friends of friends, and along several different degrees, eventually you're gonna run into, oh shit, that's Miss Clark, with her hair down outside of school hours, in a bikini, right? Then the next thing you know, you in class, you can't focus on the class because you think you looking at Miss Carter Instagram page, right? Then when it gets out of hands, the first sign, you send her a DM on social media. She accepts it, likes it, trouble right there, right? So we didn't have that type of, ability to just all be lumped in the same pool before social media. This is one of the negative sides of it. Is the lines are blurred between administrator, student, right, and many others.
Shout out to Emily and some of the other content creators that's kind of been addressing this, especially because those who tends to be of the feminist ilk, they tend to view sex-related crimes, sexual abuse. They tend to look at it in a very gendered way. And what I mean by that is they tend to view it as it almost only counts when men are the perpetrators. Very, very interesting way of viewing it, especially considering some of the stats I'm going to kind of go through to kind of help us all get caught up to speed. So if you haven't done so, feel free to like this particular video and send it to at least 1, 2, or even 3 people. But guys, we're going to join it. Go ahead and jump on in. Initially, statistics reveal that women are often the primary perpetrators of overall child maltreatment, largely due to their roles as primary caregivers. Accurate data combats the dangerous cultural assumption that women are incapable of violence. And I think this is a really good place for us to kind of park. It's a noticeable thing, and I think that the desensitization of female perpetrators, especially as it relates to sexual related crimes, the first thing that I've noticed, and again, it's a very, very easy test that I want to kind of recommend for all of you to kind of do. The first thing you do whenever you see a headline, whenever you see a particular video, jump straight to the comments. Jump straight to the comments.
Yeah, I do already.
And there's 2 things that are almost always going to be there without fail. There's going to be the grown men that are making jokes about it, ranging from where were those teachers, when I was young, I would have never snitched. Sex must not have been that good. He must have been doing something right. You have that one line of thought when it comes to certain
right.
And then on the other end, you'll see women who will tend to respond to these moments and take these opportunities when potentially female perpetrators are being brought up on charges, are being charged. A victim is stories being put out there, and that's when they're taking the opportunity to try to redirect the conversation to be about um, male perpetrators. So you got one side that kind of just makes it a joke, makes it seem like it's not that serious of an issue. It's not really a crime. Why even complain about it? Why even tell?
He probably
Then
wanted
there's
it
the other
anyway.
side of
Idea.
it.
I see that.
Oftentimes ladies, oftentimes feminist leaning, that will use opportunities when one offense or crime or traumatic event is occurring to try to take the conversation and the eyeballs off of oftentimes male victims, children at that we're talking about, and try to redirect them on. But look at the percentage of male perpetrators when it comes to sexual violence. Well, as we're going to go through and see, one of the initial myths that we kind of need to dispel is actually very similar and comparable to the domestic violence rates. If you actually look at the initiating perpetrator, depending on the evidence, it's usually bilateral. It's often little even. Sometimes women might even, at times, depending on the study, be actually more likely to initiate some type of form of physical violence with domestic violence. It's kind of similar when it comes to maltreatment. So we're very careful when it comes to maltreatment versus sexual abuse. And maltreatment can range from a lot of different things, including neglect as well. But the point being, we tend to have a gendered way as a society and as a culture to where I'm going to say the thing that maybe a lot of people oftentimes don't realize to the degree of what that actually means and looks like. Whenever you only can think of sexual predators as those evil, bad men in business suits and working in churches and working for the Catholic Church, if that's your only image you can come up with, it might make sense that you may live and function and respond as if boys and males can't ever be victims. That's going to probably be a factor in why you were never concerned about shelters and hotlines of support when it came to them. Normalizing the culture of even taking their grievances seriously and even knowing what to look for. So I'm going to play a video clip. And remember, when you have a gendered view of this issue, you're going to be very desensitized. Certain things are just going to be normal. And as you all kind of look back at your own past and you look back at your own history when it came to growing up in school, let's see if any of you ever noticed any of your teachers acting like this.
And did you study last night? You didn't? I was gonna do a pop quiz today. Oh my god. Okay, study tonight, pop quiz tomorrow. Make sure you study. I'm not gonna keep curbing your grade. No, I'm not gonna keep curbing it. No. Seriously, after school, I'm gonna help you study because you need your grades up for football. Yes, Lindsay. You need help. Can't you see that I'm helping Hunter? Okay, go to your desk. I'll be there in a little bit. Anyways, yeah, so any day after school, I can clear my schedule for you. Rebecca, come here. Oh my god, come here. Is Joe and Lindsay together? They're not? Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think you would go for her. Yeah. Anyways,
yeah.
I'll see you.
Trying to fit in, trying to be more of a girlfriend than a teacher. All that shit is red flags. And it's happened in every high school in America, right? And yeah, I can't explain, like I said, I tried to explain it earlier. Don't really know what it is. Maybe these women feel like they're missing something at home and they, think that they have this connection with these teenage boys, right? And a lot of the teenage boys is cool with it. I remember being in high school, like, shit, if Miss Johnson think I, want to, be nice, want to give me an extra grade, if she think I'm cute or she want to call me handsome, shit, I'm taking her class, right? But, when you look back on it and you grown, you see kind of the grooming, that these teachers be doing, trying to help the guy, help the boy out with extra credit, trying to be nice, inquiring about who he's dating and all that like a friend. Bitch, you a teacher. That should be none of your concern who he date, right? The lines get blurred and we forget what we there for. You there to teach, I think they should hire nobody under 50 to teach school, especially high school. No female teachers under 300 pounds should be allowed to teach teenage boys. Then you would eradicate this problem. Stop hiring cute ass 24, 25-year-olds to teach teenage boys, right? It's a recipe for disaster.
You in next period. Madison, are you okay? I saw that you and Bo's posts were all deleted. No, I don't follow you, but I like to check up on my students. Wait,
check up on my student.
Is Bo single now? You guys are together? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yep. How many of you, please place a 1 in the chat if you have not done so. If you can resonate.
Once again, following and being followed by your students on social media, red flag, don't do it. If you happen to be a teacher that also, posts and things like that, make sure you scrub your followers, right? First of all, be mindful of the type of, if you're an administrator, a teacher, there's a level of discretion that, first of all, if you don't maintain, you can be fired. Second of all, you need to maintain when people are looking up to you. So if you choose to be a teacher, you know what I'm saying, then you have to mind your social media posts in a way that they, come off as, classy and representative, not too slutty, right? Or, look for a better word, but, not too sultry, especially when you have students that are male, right? You got to be mindful of that. It's just the way it is. It is what it is. And if you notice any of your male or even female students following you in a friendlier way than it's supposed to be teacher and student, block them. Nip that in the bud. Stop it. Don't comment on their shit either. That goes for high school and then college too. It gets blurry in college, right? You happen to be a young professor still in your 20s, maybe 30s, and you have students that are in their early 20s, right? But there's still that conflict of interest when it comes to you being an administrator and them being a student, and you got to watch it.
I've seen anything like that. Teachers that seemed a little too friendly with some of the boys, or paying really special close attention to very isolated students, but it didn't seem to be just only about academic related concerns. One of the telltale signs that I think we as consumers, as taxpayers, we have to start to be more mindful of is you got to get the image in your mind when it comes to, black bad, white good, or white good, white bad, male bad, female good. It's actually far more better for you to kind of assume and be suspicious of everyone and be pleasantly surprised than just having certain assumptions anymore. I think the Epstein files, I think the scandals with a lot of our celebrities, I think the constant teachers and coaches that are being placed in the news. And again, periodically, I'm just going to kind of show different images to kind of make it known. This isn't even just, it's just across the board. I'm like, let me pull this one up. It's astounding. And it's astounding to know there almost isn't anywhere, any industry where minors are not available, that predators are not going to seek to figure out how to get there. And it's legit. It's a legitimate issue. And I think one of the saddest things is discussing, and someone actually posted it in the chat, and I'm going to pop it up in a second. It's a legitimate question that we got to ask on the front end, which is what's going on in the mentality of a lot of these individuals? Do they go into these industries thinking this, planning this, wanting to do something like this? Or does something happen while they are now teachers that kind of changes their perspective and kind of desensitizes them from being able to recognize that what they're doing is not only harmful but extremely dangerous, especially on the part of the minors and children. Now, when I just showed you earlier was a clip of an individual who was kind of making a joke and a mockery of teachers that just seem a little too friendly. And one of the telltale signs, and I'm about to play it, of a psychologist that kind of speaks on some of the psychology and potential diagnostic concerns that one could kind of note is attention seeking. Attention seeking. People who have an endless cup of seeking validation will often try to seek and find that validation through anyone by any means necessary. So you'll even notice trends when it comes to Teacher of the Year awards, Teacher of the Month awards. They may be loved by students, beloved by parents, beloved by faculty and staff. And the idea of them just finding another source of being able to get that needed validation, it's a real thing. But the difference is that when they do it with a minor, and there's a power
It's
dynamic,
trouble.
it may not be as strange for the person in that moment who's already seeking validation from children to find one or two of them to be attractive enough to want to pursue that even more. So attention seeking is very important, but I do see a couple super chats to make sure I stay on top of real quick. Mason, P1, PY1, thank you for the $5. I had a teacher who was married with kids doing this to the point where she was letting and texting them to come to her house until she got caught. Oh, bruh. Oh, God. It's like, and again, it's not just as a culture and society in terms of men and women don't really take female predatory behavior very seriously.
And then you got kids. There was another story of a high school boy who his mother had an affair or had sex at a swim party with one of his classmates or somebody right around his age. I don't think she was thinking about how damaging that is to your son, especially, and her daughter was crying, right? That's selfish, to, be so into your, sexual urges that you don't think about your children that are in proximity and you're having sex with somebody that's their age, right? That was the worst thing you could do coming up for me is say, hint, your mama or your mama's a hoe or I've been screwing your mama. That was fighting word. I would have never dealt with it. I'd have went off on both of their ass if I was him, right? And so he's got to live with that for real. One of his classmates, you know what I'm saying, being able to say, yeah, I got to fuck your mama. And what does that do for the family name when I can come through and just smash your mom? It's great.
I'm gonna put the elephant in the room. When we go to all the adult related sites, isn't there a category for like moms and messing with very young looking boys? Because a lot of teenage boys and men have that image of what it would be like to kind of be with an older woman thing. And quote unquote being with a cougar who looks like a man who looks like a prepubescent boy or one who's just teetering on switching between being a teenager and adult. That's a whole category. And I think that if we were to ever do a full assessment on the sheer amount of self-reported cases in comparison to the ones that made it through the legal route, the numbers are through the roof. They're upwards. Some of the stats I've seen were like upwards of about 45 to 55% female perpetrators. Astounding for sure. So thank you, Mason, for the $5. Sir Francis, thank you for the $20. So glad you are covering this quiet as kept topic.
Yeah.
Jeff. Yeah, man, I appreciate you for the $20 as well. Yeah, I think there's a pattern in this space where when people kind of find their lane, they kind of stay there. And I never want to kind of get bogged down to only talking about one thing or even talking about one group. I think it's okay to talk about men, women, black people, white people, etc. Until somebody shut me down, I guess. And I think that this is an important enough topic because I would argue that white women for a very, very long time, honestly, probably since the conception of this country, has been able to be one of the groups that's kind of gone without significant scrutiny, while a lot of attention is always being focused on other people and other groups. Black women,
That's right.
black men,
Bingo.
white.
Do you know what I mean? America loves its white females, right? Don't say nothing about Miss Ann. You know, so they've been able to get away with a lot of things, get a lot of empathy on a lot of things where they should get lenient sentences, right? Where they should have been punished more strenuously, or you know what I mean, just believed for no reason. Look at Rosewood, right? Where, you know, a bunch of black people was just killed over a white woman saying that she was raped, right? Emmett Till was killed over a white woman saying he whistled at her or some shit. So, you know, we America's got a history of protecting the great white punani. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, you know, they can't do any wrong, right? And we kind of crack that open.
Men, a lot of times when they talk about white supremacy, is usually being viewed through the lens of white male patriarchal supremacy. White women have kind of been skirting through a lot of the scrutiny, and this is something that I think like we now have to pay much more attention to. I don't think that we, just because they work as teachers, that we should be giving the benefit of the doubt. One of the things that you all are going to have to accept the reality is that people who legitimately already have those predatory mindsets and approaches, the number one thing they're going to try to figure out to do is how to put themselves in positions to have access to children. The field of education, especially when it comes to lower ed, is designed for predators to take advantage. They build up trust with the parents. They build up trust with children. They have long periods of time where they can meet with children one-on-one. They can form a whole bunch of additional components. They can establish a relationship where the child can open up to them in a way that they may not open up to most other adults, including their parents. And they'll be trusted. And so would a babysitter. So would a nurse. So would home health aides. So would nursing, retirement home facility workers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. People that have this propensity to want to take advantage.
Yeah, they hide behind those titles, right? So you got to watch it. And he mentioned you got to watch your babies and you got to watch your elders. Anybody vulnerable in your family, we tend to just trust these agencies like the school and the hospital and nursing homes and you can't blindly trust a motherfucker. You know what I mean? You be polite, but you check. You check with the school. You check with what counselors your kids are talking to, what they're talking about, who they're getting tutoring from, right? And if you have elders that's in homes, you go up there daily, weekly, checking to make sure they're being taken care of, their needs aren't being ignored, right? Especially if you have elders that are, vulnerable in a way, they maybe have dementia and things like that. They can't really defend or speak up for themselves. You got to go up there and make sure that these people that we trusting are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, you're putting your foot in their ass.
Seems to be, again, a very, very ugly trend that I'm noticing. One of the number one ways if you want to be a very, very active perpetrator, why not become a coach or a teacher? It's far easier than just standing outside the playgrounds. The kids come to you and report to you and trust you. So it's a very, very sick thing because it's hard to nail them down and identify them.
And it's a shame because we need those coaches and teachers and things like that in our community, right? Because it takes a village, but it's also a soft spot for people with predator mentalities. They know they're gonna be trusted in those roles, and just like he said, he made a good point. It's a lot easier than standing outside the playground because the parents and teachers are gonna trust you because of your position, right? And leave you with access to you know conversations with their minor kids. So you just gotta watch people.
A lot of these
I don't trust a motherfucker.
or nearly all of them, they have criminal background checks. So they're not being reported. They're getting away with it. They may have done it in multiple instances in other places. And as you saw with one of the earlier videos, the other strange thing that we have to acknowledge is even the reactions and responses and the framing of this stuff, even when you read some of the headlines, they'll describe everything but what the woman actually did. Inappropriate relationship. How do you even describe that when it comes to children? Right? So
it's not even a relationship.
I think we're potentially going to start to move into reverse Me Too territory, where instead of Me Too being something that's seen as a bludgeoning call to accuse men and make all men guilty, what if the eye of scrutiny starts to focus in on all the female professionals that's trusted with our most vulnerable population, the elderly and children? And when we start relooking at those stats, we start again learning and realizing, oh shit, perhaps that we've been looking at this in such a misandrous and biased way. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, decade after decade, are being abused and mistreated. But because it's not a man that's doing it, we don't actually care. So something to think about. I'm going to bring on somebody that I know a lot of y'all who watch my program are quite familiar with. And I'm excited to kind of have her on. So please welcome to the stage for the first time, Miss Messy Michelle. What's going on, man?
Hey!
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I can't complain, sis. Well, first of all, welcome.
Thank
you. What the hell happened to these white women?
I've been screaming here. I've been screaming.
What's going on with these white
First
women?
of all, let's shout out White People Wednesday, and we get to talk about white people because this is everyone's issue, but we cover it every so often. There's so many, for the most part, white people, women that are doing this, and it's in the schools. And you brought up being a coach and everything, and that's absolutely true. They just are trusted, and no one cares because they're women. And I'm just like, these are your kids. First of all, it's your kids, but second of all, these are your sons because it's usually sons. But lately, it seems to be girls too. If you've been
girl on
so
girl,
they are wilding. And in my mind, and their stats are awesome. And that little girl with the skit, she was perfect. I've never experienced that, but she was perfect. I can imagine that. But I think, me personally, is that these women can't get men. So they're going to go and prey on young men to get them before they realize the way that older men are speaking. And people, in this space are talking now, saying that we're not going to take your crap and all that type of stuff. So they're just getting in early. Because it used to be, you would hear this about men doing this, and it blow up. Everyone would know. It's all over the place. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, we haven't heard that lately. Not that I give them a pass, y'all. I do not. I haven't heard anything lately, but I see these in the New York Post because that's usually where I see them at. I said I could do this every day. I could do one a day and would not run out. It is an epidemic, maybe. It's crazy.
Wild and untamed.
If we as a collective responded to white teachers, especially white women, in this space, the way that they talk about Black fatigue and ghetto fatigue and Black and urban community, this and that, I think a lot of more people may not feel comfortable with their kids going to public school anymore. They should already not feel comfortable, but I digress on that. Yeah. But then the sentences. Oh, you know what? I want to talk about when you said that men say,
oh, where were these teachers when I was younger and all that other types of things, which when I see that, I'm just like, y'all, I said, the only time not all, but the only time that you all seem to get upset is when she gets pregnant and then they start talking about child support. Then y'all are all wilding out about it. I said, you should be
Right?
wilding from the gate because it's inappropriate. It could be your son too. So please, I know there's a bit of a double standard and I don't like it at all. I don't like that because it's about more than just the actual relationship. It is about what if they grow up and, become the same or they do something wrong, or it could affect them when they're very, very young and they could turn into anything. So it's important even before she becomes pregnant. But just think of having a 14 or 15, 13-year-old getting a 30-something-year-old person pregnant, and then they got to
Right.
deal with that for the rest of their life.
At 14. That's a good point that she makes, right? Because like they were saying, a lot of men are like, well, shit, I wish I had that type of teacher, but you would be pissed off if your 15, 16-year-old son, through his own stupidity, was sleeping around with a teacher, got her pregnant, and now she wants child support, or the courts want child support as soon as he turned 18. Before he's able to go to college or go to the military or anything and make anything of his life, he already has to pay for a family. So, and that's on her. That's not on him if he's 16 and she's 23, 24, 25. You know what I mean? It reminds me of the High Five song, Just Can't Handle It. I was only 16, she was 25. We used to jam to that shit, but really, it ain't no laughing matter.
Now, real quick, there was a couple things that you kind of alluded to earlier. One of which was you said a lot of these ladies get in when they're single, maybe don't have a lot of prospects. Yeah, but now we're seeing the trend where a lot of these women is married too.
They're married, yes.
A lot
One
of
got
these
her
women are married.
look, the husband's son. Took down the husband's son. And then he was like, that's okay. Told the boy he had to leave. I said, everybody is crazy. Nobody cares about getting kids. It's crazy. These situations get weirder and weirder. I said, we are living in the Truman Show. It's got to be the Gong Show or something that we are in right now because everything that's wrong is right and everything that's right is wrong.
So I have a video clip I've been wanting, based on what you said. I want to see what your reaction is.
Was in court today after being arrested for sexual misconduct with a minor. Graham 2's Caitlin Galloway is at the Whitman County Courthouse in Colfax with more on today's hearing.
A St. John's teacher was in Whitman County Court today and now has a restraining order preventing her from coming near school grounds. Court documents say 25-year-old Mackenzie Knott was arrested on Sunday after her husband found out she cheated on him with a 16-year-old student.
I reviewed that document and I agree that there's probable cause for the offense.
According to court documents, Knott teaches first grade at St. John Elementary School, and the victim is a student at St. John Endicott High School. She's been charged with sexual misconduct with a minor. The school district says in a statement that they are aware of allegations involving a district employee and that the employee has been placed on leave. The district also says it is cooperating with authorities and will be conducting.
Set your ass on leave. That means leave. And don't forget to go when you leave.
Well, Messi, what you think? And welcome, Doug and Pierre. What's going on, brother?
How's it going, my friend? What's going on?
What's happening, man? We covering this controversial topic. Everybody's warning me and saying, "Oh my God, you can't talk about white women." And I was like, "Well, we're talking about it."
Talking about it.
Yes, we can.
So let me first acknowledge Dr. Esquire, Wesley Masson. I'm Doug and Pierre, PhD, the last king of Scotland.
I love it.
He taking a stab at Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Pardon me, Cheyenne Bryant. Right. Taking a low-key dig at that by calling her Dr. Esquire.
If Dr. Cheyenne Bryant could be a doctor, I could be a doctor.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Let's go.
Who knew it was that simple? Who knew it was that simple? I should have came in with at least a little certificate behind me.
Yeah, The Tsar of Russia, that's what you can put at the end of my name. So I'm really glad you covered this because I grew. There's certain terms where they're labeled to a certain group or a race. So like loser. If you hear the term loser, what do you automatically picture? A man in his basement eating Cheetos, right?
Mhm.
Or like predator. When you hear the term sexual predator, you automatically assume it's a man.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like this. We're gonna have to
I think
redefine
about the
that
movie.
automatic switch in your brain as to why you associate like the word predator with a man. When I think the statistics in 2020, well, in the main video that Jessica's going to cover, I think they said that 40% of teachers that were caught with students now are women, over 40%.
Yep.
And it's like, so if you have children, you have to make sure to watch your daughter's cell phone and your son's cell phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just think it comes from just like how you're starting to see people call out their mothers.
14-year-old.
We have a lot of horrible mothers in the United States, but particularly in the Black community, and in the quest to call out fathers and hold fathers accountable, and maybe that was necessary, but we focus so much on fathers that we let mothers get away with treating their daughters and everyone look like garbage. It's the same thing with in the education system. We're so hyper focused on men not doing wrong that we're letting these women just run wild. And I think that these women, they don't know, they don't care, or both. They just don't think that when women are they're trying to act in the roles of men, but they don't understand that there's consequences. You know, with responsibility comes accountability, and I just don't think that enough of these women think that they're going to get caught because they're women. They think that men get caught, but not women.
That's absolutely correct. That has to be it. Look at these women for the most part. Like they're not mostly ugly, but they can get. This one talking about at least she got 10 years. I feel like that's like the most that I feel like I've ever seen. And sometimes it's just like 18 months, and it's like that's it. Because if it was a man, it would be completely different. And it's just as bad because obviously men can't get pregnant, but they can get a kid pregnant, which makes it even worse. Mary Kayla Tornell, wait, she was the teacher. She was the biggest one that people knew from back in the day.
Yeah.
But if the adult dude got a minor child pregnant, Rome would burn.
Yeah.
Rome would burn.
Did you see the latest one where the lady's husband stayed with her?
Yes.
And did the apology, was like, oh, she's working to be a better version of herself.
Stupid.
And this is a trying time. It's like, come on, what are we doing?
Right. And even that clip we just saw with the husband that thank God like turned her in. A lot, like you said before, a lot of these ladies also are in relationships. They're actually married.
Yep.
They have kids at home. And what Doug kind of alluded to, I don't think enough people can acknowledge how this can happen. The first of which is, I think that when we put ourselves, like the way in which our careers and our jobs control so much of our lives, when you're always around certain people and certain groups where you're trying to seek camaraderie, companionship, validation, vent sessions, etc., this is how a lot of situationships happen in the workplace.
Yes.
Right? Like amongst coworkers.
Yeah.
You talk about nurses messing around with other, medical staff and retirement homes and everybody messing around with each other.
Yeah, because you're in close proximity, right? There's a certain comfortability that comes with, people you see every day, right? And you always wonder, well, wow, it's a big planet out there. Why don't you mess around with somebody outside of where you work with? Some people find it difficult to actually, talk to new people. And so they end up falling into the trap of having an inappropriate work or school relationship.
There seems to be something that
No excuse.
that increases the
I'm just trying to
probability
explain.
for something inappropriate to happen because of the disproportionate amount of time that you're away from your family and friends and in these situations in the first place. There's a possibility that if these people were only spending 2 hours a day with children, that they probably would have never even gotten to the point where they would have sought out those attachments and connections in the first place. So real quick, I want to cover Through the Fire podcast RBN. Thank you for the $5. The worst kept secret in my high school, late 90s, was the Shakespeare female white teacher having sex parties with male students. Oh my God. Jesus.
I believe it.
Jeff,
Oh.
Michelle, what do you think of this? So the current rhetoric is that men are trash. They're shaming age gap dating of younger women being with older men,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So like adult men are just trash. But then we have all these social conventions to try to deny biological reality. But biological reality is women want the touch of a man and they want to be in the presence of a man, right? So you're a single woman in your late 20s, early 30s. You're taught that all the men your age or older are all trash. And who are you around?
Children, young men. Yeah.
But, Doug, don't they also say that they need the six of the six, right? I need all the money. I need all the trinkets. You're not getting any of that from any of these boys.
Yes, yeah. But here's the thing. While they're waiting to try to find that guy, they're filling it in with, because, okay, we're in the want, we're in the what women want social economy now, right? So women want the 666, and they're willing to wait and be single until they find it, but they still want to be with a man of some way, shape, and form. So they're not willing to. Yes, exactly. They still want validation.
Still want validation. Still want to feel valued, important. They're just so. This is not the same because I see right now what's happening in the spaces. Every time somebody talks and gives comparisons or analogies, when
they
it comes
mess it
to
up.
child predators and anything else, people say, "See, he's saying that it's fine." It's the same thing. No, it's not the same thing. I'm just bear with me. It's the same way we can look at a lot of these ladies' track records, where they can point back to this checkered past and the gangsters and the hoodlums and the bad guys and the good guys they've been with. And you're like, what was going through your mind? Clearly he was a red flag. Clearly you knew this was a bad idea, but you still proceeded anyway.
Correct.
I don't think that we give enough credit to what people are willing to do when it comes to validation. Look at the face. What are people willing to wear, dress, show, do in order to be put on? To get that validation, to get that status symbol. So all I'm arguing is some people will sell themselves, some people will sell their kids, some people will be with kids. And some people will commit other crimes to protect the person that they're getting this sex or attention validation from. I just think that the human desire for validation and attention is so powerful that there's lines that I think these people never thought they would have gotten to 5-10 years prior to it happening. And desperation and attention is a big, big thing. Now, one thing I did want to play, and I want to see what y'all think, is from the psychologist that kind of talks about some of the psychology and potential things to kind of look out for.
Dr. Amy Estridge here doing a psych profile, this time on Brittany Zamora, the 27-year-old teacher who was charged and convicted with 4 counts of sexual misconduct towards a 6th grade student that she was teaching.
6th grade.
This is all speculative in nature, but is done based on the behaviors that she has displayed as well as the arrest information. In my professional opinion, she is presenting with histrionic personality disorder, which is a pervasive pattern of excessive emotionality and attention-seeking behavior that is apparent in a variety of contexts. These people tend to be uncomfortable in situations where they are not the center of attention. This fits with her career, as teachers tend to be the center of attention. Their interactions with others tends to be inappropriately sexually seductive or provocative behavior in a variety of contexts. So at work, in social settings, in a variety of contexts within their life, they're sexualizing the relationships. They tend to show rapidly shifting emotional experiences or very shallow experiences of emotional content. If you watch her arrest intake with police, she was very shallow in her expression, talking with a baby voice. Oh, will I be going home today? Do these types of things have to be made public? What is the typical consequence for this? So using baby talk and showing a very shallow expression when you're being taken in by police for some very significant crimes does not fit and shows a shallow expressional experience in terms of lacking much emotional expression with such a severe situation occurring. They consistently use their physical appearance to draw attention to themselves. She does this where she took pictures of herself in nude situations and was sending them to this boy.
We're going to stop it right there because we can continue with this in a second. She mentioned something at the end that I just thought of. You know when y'all see all those videos of those teachers standing in front of their classroom with some outfit that
Oh yeah, teacher bay.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Yeah.
that is to me one of the first signs of grooming.
Yeah, right there. You know what I'm saying? Last year they had, or the beginning of the school year last year, and you will see it again at the beginning of this next school year. You know, all the teachers that still are want to be hot. And there's nothing wrong with being sexy, but you have to realize the school and being sexy around kids, that's not appropriate, right? So maybe your pencil skirt or your, the one that shows a little too much cleavage, maybe that's not appropriate if you're going to be up in front of students at the high school, junior high, even college level, right? But because, once again, we live in a society where the lines are blurred. You know, every school year when we start, we're going to get, like you said, teacher bait, hot teacher, first day of school, the finest teachers and all of that. All like I said, and all that stuff is up on social media for your students to be able to access. So it's only a matter of time before something inappropriate happens, right? You can only play in the street for so long before you get hit by a car, right? Nothing may not happen in the first, couple of minutes, but eventually your ass gonna get hit by a car, right? So nothing may not happen the first time you step up in class and you got your, form fitting, you got a little cleavage coming down, you know. But that type of behavior repeated, opens up the door for inappropriate conversations. Next thing you know, you flirting a little too much with the student, or the student is flirting with you, and then you're not turning it in. Maybe you think it's flattering. Maybe you go home thinking it's cute, and it turns into a situation where it's inappropriate.
And we're so desensitized to it because all women in all industries kind of wear what they want now. Realize they're doing this in front of children and then posting it on social media. They're trying to get validation from children and adults.
Yes.
I never thought about that, Jeff.
We're
That's really good.
when these women are wearing the tightest, most inappropriate things imaginable, and they're doing this in front of children every single day. How do you think these testosterone-filled, puberty-laden boys are reacting to this stuff?
It seems to be every beginning school year, and then that's the biggest time for teachers because school's just starting.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get these
anyway, because they show the black women on the blogs and everything, and it's tight and your ass and everything, right?
Yep.
And I call it attention. We need attention, Anonymous. That's what I think it is. Validation, attention, all of that type of stuff. And that's exactly what that is. But it seems to happen every single beginning of the school year. And it's always some teacher that's at the board too. And the ass is bigger. And it's like, and no one, like, it's the backlash for the moment. But then the school year goes on and no one ever does anything about it or says anything. There's not
until you run into a situation where they having sex with each other. Nobody does nothing to say anything about it until it's too late.
Anymore, even for teachers?
Apparently not. And then the crazy part when you think about it is
What's it
school
say?
anymore, even if it's on, and no one ever does anything about it or says anything. There's not a dress code in school anymore, even for teachers.
No dress code. We had a dress code in my school.
Think about it is, we're so desensitized to it that the parents won't even think to request for it to change or for their kids to come out that class. They just let it go. And I'm like, that's the first mistake.
Think about this.
What's up?
Who has the most amount of interactions with the teacher most of the time? It's the mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the times, even if the dad wants to say something, I mean,
better not.
Yeah.
He's a misogynist if he says.
And why he looking? That's what they're gonna say. Why
Yeah.
he looking at her?
Exactly. A lot of guys are cucked right now. You know, they're simps in a marriage, and the mom's not going to stop the sisterhood. You know what I'm saying?
Easy,
So-
you're right.
Extremely underrated sign is dressing in an over provocative, overly sexual way in a school environment, and nobody from the staff, the administrators, the parents, nobody says it. Even when they
Nobody
post
saying
on
that.
social media, like you said, a couple of people vent in the comments, but that's where it starts and stops. And that's
Why do we even allow the teachers to use the social media posts in their classroom anyway?
Agreed. Where's the social
Exactly.
media policy? Exactly. Who said that you could take pictures of these kids? Who said that you could put them online? Like, the line is getting thinner and thinner, or further away, or moving the goalposts, whatever the wording, phrasing is. It's like being accepted, just like you said. Unfortunately, get normalized. And who's suffering?
mm-hmm.
They're
Kids.
cheering.
Lots of boys. Nobody seems to care. They said 6th grade. Isn't that like 12th?
Yeah.
6th grade for that heifer.
Yeah.
I remember Power Rangers came out when I was. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because 13 is 9th grade.
Is it?
Yeah, 13
Something like
is
that.
9th grade. So is that probably 7th grade?
When you turn
You are 11 to 12 years old in 6th
Mhm.
grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bad. That's bad.
it's brutal. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things, let me see, I think somebody sent me a super chat. Hey, a couple people. Q, the old one, thank you for the $5. Nature give a poop about the 666, and thus these things happen and will continue to. FYI, this is not new. They are just getting caught. Yeah. And I kind of wanted to ask you too about, why do you all think that we're starting to hear about it more? Is this just the nature of it's happening more? Is it that? Is it something else? Is it because of these devices that we're carrying? So now kids are walking around with proof. Like, what do y'all think is the reason for why we're starting to hear about this stuff finally way more and more often?
I think, okay, so the fact that by 2030, almost 50% of American women are going to be single and childless,
Mm-hmm.
that means that this is going to happen a lot more. So you're going to have a lot of single women in classrooms around young boys. They're not going to have the skills to be able to get with men their age, or they're going to see their men their age or older as villains. So and they're going to be around these young men. Number one. Number two, I think that I think this has always been a thing with there's been an increase because of I know, corn is more available now for guys who are visually stimulated, but when you have this whole forbidden love, Harlequin romance, whole industry going on, where you're the woman who has to get the forbidden love. I mean, sleeping with a student is a form of that. And so I just think that with the increase of that whole industry, stuff like 50 Shades of Grey, all stuff like that, it's become a thing that women see as a possibility. And couple that with the fact that women still don't understand consequences.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think those are the biggest parts of it.
Yeah. What about you, Miss?
Yeah, definitely it's not new. However, I think more people are doing it. I definitely think that. And I think that the social media doesn't help. I think that they know that they're not going to really be held to any type of standards, because I've seen a few who have gotten out and just do it again. Like, even if they're on bail, they go back and find another kid because they just also aren't being held to any type of standard. And you have people that are saying, like Jeff was saying earlier, the men that are like, oh, where were these women when I was in school? So they don't think that there's going to be any real consequences. unless it was reversed when it's a man to a female. Then all hell breaks loose. So I think it's a combination of I want to do what I want, and what you said, Doug. But also, nobody's going to say anything. Just the same thing with the teen takeovers. Why would they stop doing it? No one's saying anything. No one's stopping them. No one's punishing them. It's the same thing with most things. If you're not going to hold anybody to any sort of consequences, they're going to keep doing it. So I saw she did it, so I'm going to do it. And I saw she did it, so now I'm going to do it. And it rolls. It snowballs.
And also remember, men by nature were cost benefit calculators, and so there's a lot of guys. Most men will stop themselves from doing something based upon a cost benefit analysis and consequences, right? Yep. Women don't even, only 44% of women budget their money.
Right? I didn't know the percentage, but yeah, you definitely know that.
So it's like they don't.
Women be shopping.
You're thinking about what income you're bringing in now for a better future. It's like so many of these women, they don't cost benefit calculate. They
don't think about the consequence, so they have no concept of what's going to happen if they get caught. And then when they do, it's not really a big deal. It's kind of like a safety net, right? I'm going to be let off only with a slap on the wrist anyway, so they don't, calculate the graveness of their action.
Now, what's good for me now? This love is good for me now, not what could happen to me down the line if I do this.
But again, this leads to the greater issue that even people in the LGBT community are starting to speak out on. Is like, wait a minute, we're moving towards people pushing for minor attracted persons.
Yeah.
Trying to normalize this. This is. I think we're in dangerous territory. Where I think California was the one that recently passed a law where children, children can keep things from their parents in terms of what they identify with and everything. So I can see the thread between the teachers who think that parents have too much say on their kids' lives, and then that same pool, you have predators. Shocking.
Just the whole thought process of a parent has too much to say on their kid. That's how it's supposed to be. That's the problem.
That's right.
There.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Out wilding, because if they didn't have to listen to the person that allegedly raised them, why do I have to listen to you?
Yeah.
Whoever, insert person.
Yeah. What's just scary the most about this minor attracted person thing is a whole complex was built to get marriage equality and gay marriage passed. I'm talking there's a whole infrastructure with nonprofits and receiving all this money and lobbying groups and all this stuff, right? And once they got that passed, they're not going to stop taking the money. They're not going to get rid of the infrastructure. So they had to move on to the next thing. And the next thing was this whole, the T part of LGBTQ, right? But they're gonna get most of what they want, unfortunately, in certain parts of the country. Then what is the next issue? Like they're not gonna dismantle that infrastructure, so they're gonna have to pick something else and keep moving forward to keep that complex going.
Messy.
That's what should scare you about this.
I would put money on it that within the next decade, the APA,
Exactly.
the Psychology Association, they're going to move towards destigmatizing minor attraction.
I hope not.
And that's what I said too, right? And you might think people are, being mean, towards the, because one thing I know is about the LGBTQ, right? Every year or 6 months is another letter added, LGBTQIA plus. So how far do we go down this slope of acceptance? I don't think anybody should be vilified for who they choose to sleep with or what gender they choose to be. But, the reality of it is, like he described, it's going to be another fight. And once they feel like they've broken down those barriers, then here come the pedophiles. They're going to say, hey, I'm not a pedophile. I'm a minor attracted person. Make it LGBTQIE plus M, right? So then you're going to get a push to decriminalize, relationship with minors. Grooming minors as far as what sex they're going to be. Or if they can date older people. They're going to be a push towards that. They're going to be a push towards lessening stigmas and sentences around child predators. They're going to drop the term predator and make it, well, you can't call them predators because we've got a new word for them. They're minor attracted persons, right? So yeah, you know what I mean. Call me a fearmonger, but like you said, in the next 5 to 10 years, you can just look at the behavior of people and say, look, they're gonna just excuse anything.
Look at what's happening to the field. Look at the direction where the field is going. So I'm like, don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. They want they want to push for this to be more of a diagnosable issue that we shouldn't be punishing in the same way. We should be rehabilitating in a different way. I'm telling you, that is what's coming.
The kids definitely would have an attraction to a teacher. They're kids. They're learning. They're changing. They have hormones. That's not weird. The weird part is the adult that's supposed to be in the care of and taken care of and teaching that takes advantage of that. Like, all this is in my mind from when I was younger. I don't know if it's like Oedipus and all that type of stuff, but it's not weird to admire your teacher. It's not weird to, even have a crush on your teacher. It's normal. It's the abnormal is the teacher and what they do with that or how they're grooming, because it's technically grooming at the end of the day. It's really grooming, and people don't want to say that about women, but they definitely do it, and they're doing it more and more and more.
I think the other issue, and we kind of alluded to, and I agree with you. Not only do I think it's happening more, I do think the devices and the ease of which when you can only use your
ease of access,
when you could only talk to your teacher in person, that may have significantly reduce the likelihood of this type of stuff and opportunities for it to happen.
Exactly. He's touching on what I said earlier, right? We got too much access to one another. And, the phone algorithms put us in contact with friends of friends. And, maybe there's a geographical location where you pair with somebody that turns out to be one of your teachers or some of your teachers. Right? And next thing you know, y'all in the same friend groups, sharing the same kind of personal life. When there used to be a big Chinese wall in between, you know what I mean, going to school, your teacher's personal life, you knew nothing about it. Wasn't supposed to. Now you can go on your teacher's social media and see, what they get up to on the weekends, and they can see yours, and it's just not healthy.
Whereas once kids get old enough and have this, their parent may not see them from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with extracurricular activities on a given school day. So there's so much time where they have these devices where they can be in communication. We see it where they're talking about exchanging pictures and videos, and one lady was paying the 16-year-old $600 and doing his homework for him. Man, I would made a joke out of that one. I'm just like, this is crazy. And I'm like,
Stop that.
bro, I'm like, what was hold on. Messi, we've been serious this whole time through. What type of work was this 16-year-old putting down to get his homework done?
But Sean, you saw that whole texting.
How experienced can this person really be? No shade. At the age of 17.
I'm like, to get your homework done multiple times as the 16-year-old?
No,
He got to go to the NFL.
Jeff,
He got to go to the NFL. There's no other explanation for this.
He went on vacation with his high school girlfriend and was getting the 48-year-old teacher to give him money. Was like, oh yeah, okay, so give me $300. Okay, this is the last amount of money I'm going to give you until you commit to me. Oh yeah, okay, sure. Now give me $500 more. Yeah.
I think I heard about that one. Seriously.
Yeah, read the text messages between him and this 48-year-old teacher. It was crazy, man. It looked like what you imagine, one of those sugar daddies with a sugar baby.
Oh.
It looked like that, where he was blatantly asking her for money. She's like, so what are we? He's like, yeah, no, more money, please.
It's the same, man. It's insane. And that psychologist, he did a great job of talking about that attention seeking component. Because when you think of the number of ways that a person that's very driven and controlled by attention seeking is going to display themselves, how they dress we already kind of covered that. How they interact with the children. The one girl, she showed how a lot of time they may be overly attentive, almost flirting with certain segments of the group. And when I was looking up one of these, see if I could find it, it says in the second paragraph, studies indicate that female perpetrators are more likely to target male children for sexual abuse compared to male perpetrators, making data collection essential for identifying and supporting a highly underrepresented, underreported demographic. Why does this matter? Because men and boys and males are much less likely to report. So as a result, think of it this way. If the stats are saying that women's numbers are very concerning, you have to factor in I'll even go this far. Victim profile. Unlike male offenders who are more frequently target younger children, female educators heavily target teenagers that are most likely to victimize male in a secondary school students, typically age, I've seen some studies say 14 to 16, though roughly 12% of cases involve female teachers and female students. So what I'm arguing, almost articulating is, they're picking from a pool where horny, testosterone-filled young boys that would kind of want this to happen, they're picking from a pool that was already stigmatized to not speak up and is probably going to be, to a degree, kind of wanting it to happen. So unlike the much, much younger children, which is already disgusting when male offenders definitely do it to children, I mean, even significantly younger, they're doing it to male teenagers right around the range when they're just excited and happy to get access to sex, period. So this is jarring for me to kind of, and again, I knew a lot of this stuff, but it rocked me. But one of the things I kind of wanted to share before we kind of wrap things up here, let me just play it.
Hi, it's your boy Black Spider Guy Bites with some horrendous news coming out of Texas. We have a teacher, 36, Miss Harnell, who apparently is a teacher's aide, exposed a little 7-year-old girl's chest to her entire class, comparing her to an adult porn star. She even told some of the staff after class, "This is fucking disgusting. This is horrendous. How could you ever put a little girl in a position like this? You will remember this forever, all because of you and your perverted insanity." My heart goes out to the family. If this was my little girl, I would want this woman in jail for a long damn time. This is disgusting. You're supposed to teach the children, not do something as heinous as this.
Yeah, that's crazy. So she brought up the 7-year-old. And compared her to a porn star. What was she comparing her chest? It's a sick world we got, man. Sick world we live in, man. The Temptations had a song back in the 80s called Ball of Confusion. And that's what we're living in.
Guys, comment in the comment.
I wanted to show these back to back because we talked about it earlier throughout this discussion. I think that we, as a society, as a culture, we've been giving women the benefit of the doubt for so long.
Believe all women.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, with me having a daughter, don't worry about sleepovers with her family included.
I hear you. I agree. I'm with you.
If anybody gonna be sleeping over at my house as children, I'm gonna have more cameras up. I'm gonna have more cameras up in separate rooms and separate everything, because I've realized, again, when you've talked to and had enough conversations with enough people, the narrative that this is only men doing this quickly goes away once you start talking to people. And again, it goes so underreported, it's insane. And listen to this one, this craziness. A former kindergarten teacher in Indianapolis has been sentenced after admitting to an inappropriate relationship with a teenage student at the private Christian school where she worked. Now, when I say there's no stone that needs to be unturned for those of us that's going to take this seriously, I think those of us, and Mess, you kind of alluded to it, we really do have to reevaluate the number of ways that we increase chances for our kids to be in accessed by these predators.
Mm-hmm.
You have to reevaluate babysitters.
Yep.
We got to reevaluate obviously teachers and apparently teachers' aides too. And the same is true even for retirement homes. We
Yeah.
have this assumption that women aren't capable of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting away with it for so long, and we're so desensitized to where some of these ladies, it was I forgot one teacher, she got pregnant twice by two different students.
Yeah, the blonde woman with the short hair. Yeah, I remember that case.
Yeah, and I'm just realizing
She was really getting
my
down.
God, because we don't talk about this and frame this as an issue that both sexes are capable of doing, female predators are still in their Disneyfication era, where we're not taking this seriously enough. And it's not just women who always side with the sisterhood that don't take it seriously enough. I think we as men aren't taking it seriously either. And Messi, maybe men will start taking it more seriously if they start seeing that this is actually also happening with girls too.
Mm-hmm.
These women are no longer just only targeting boys. Some of these women are actually legitimately targeting female students now.
Yep, they definitely are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And it says former high school girls basketball coach arrested for 32 counts of sexual abuse.
32 okay.
So
was this the one that would climb through the girl's window and wait under her bed? Was this that girl?
I'm not sure, but I did hear about that on Instagram. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, there's this female teacher or coach, whatever, and she would, when the girl was in the shower, or this girl was like 15 or 14, she would climb through the window and wait under her bed until the girl was about to go to bed, and grab her ankle or hide in the closet until she said goodnight to her parents, and then come out and do whatever to the girl. It was insane. Yep.
Insane. Let me take a couple of these super chats real quick before you wrap things up. Wind up. Thank you for the $4.99. I wouldn't be shocked if they were encouraged to pick up these careers by their psychologists. Let's look into their background to see who they see. Yeah, man. It's wild to know that an era, and Doug, you kind of alluded to it, in an era where we're very hedonistic, where nobody wants to tell themselves no about anything. And every time somebody critiques anything, they're labeling everybody with something. Everybody's misogynist, everybody's sexist, everybody's this, everybody's that.
Okay, it looks like we're wrapping up. Let's see if we
I
can
think
get
that teacher may be wearing the wrong outfit in a school setting. Stop sexualizing yourself in front of kids. And because we're now in a hedonistic, pure libertine environment, anything kind of effectively goes, I think this is going to increase, like you said, the chance for this type of stuff to continue to happen.
Remember, anything for women, Jeff, not men.
I'm telling you, believe all women.
Yeah, but this is the crazy part. Did you notice that Me Too never meant female perpetrators against female victims?
Correct.
Me Too never meant anything if your perpetrator was a female.
Correct.
And I'm like, the more I think about this, I was like, this, even the idea of Me Too was still inherently sexist.
Yes, absolutely, but they don't see that, right?
Crazy. and the funny thing is, we used to, as guys, we used to always say they don't care about you as a man as a victim if the perpetrator was female. No. They don't care whether you're male or female if the perpetrator was a female. That's you're just collateral damage, because the war is against male perpetrators, not female getting rid of female perpetrators as well. Growth Talk, thank you for the $10. This stuff has been going on. White women, yes, but let's not pretend sisters are in on it too. Yvette was 25 with a job. Jody was 20. They had a 5-year-old child in the movie. Just saying. Yeah, man.
I never knew their ages.
I never knew their ages either. But I will say this. It's not unusual for people who grew up in the Black community to talk with people in the Black community and their families and hear this type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a teacher, no, this is just not. I'm not pretending that this is. Now, to be fair, I am saying that when it comes to teachers,
yes, mostly white women.
Come on now.
Yeah.
You know?
But in our community, we have low members in the family that we don't call out, and they still be there, and we be knowing it.
And we'll shame the ones who speaking out and make them the black sheep and ostracize them, and they can come to the family reunions, but the president can.
Exactly.
absolutely something that definitely happens. And thank you, Growth Talk, for that money. And then also for the $10. Cell phone, socials, and no consequences. Exactly what Doug said. Has kept the ball rolling. It's not new. It's just finally hitting the news. Don't get me started on the alphabet mafia. Oh yeah, he hitting home. The L factor, $5. The gynocracy will lower age of consent. I'm telling you, this stuff is coming because too many women are getting caught. And again, when you're looking at the various factions and movements of what they've been pushing and advocating for, nobody. That's how they can't say what a woman is. Parents' rights are being questioned.
Right.
Kids are being pushed to be able to identify and be able to get surgery very early. This is a natural progression of what's to come, of what they're going to try to fight for. They want to lower the age of consent or get rid of it altogether.
They're going to find some way to make a double. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just saying, what's the age of consent going to be born? There you go.
Born.
So ultimately, guys, you have to see. There's already been a bifurcation, and the double standards are getting they're getting worse between men and women, not less. They're getting worse. So they're going to find a way where the age of consent is going to only apply. It's going to lower when women get caught, or for female teachers, but not for men. And men should be held accountable. But women, guys, life is never going to be fair for men ever, right? So feminism is women pushing for their lives to be as unfair for them as it is for men. That's what true equality is. Is your life, women's lives are going to suck as bad as men's lives suck. But they're still going to find a way to try to make it easier, double standards. So if the guys get caught, they're still going to get thrown under the jail, but they're still going to find ways. Well, her marriage wasn't the best, and her husband was somehow abusive, or her childhood. They're going to
Exactly. It's always how she was a victim or victimized, or you know what I'm saying. She did this because she was seeking attention. She wasn't getting something at home from her husband, and he was abusive. Whatever. I mean, it's just so many ways, so many excuses to reach for, right? When you want to let a woman off the hook. Then once the tears start flowing, ain't no way around it.
To keep the double standard for women, where women are going to be less held accountable, they're going to be held less accountable, get less prison time, less convictions, all that stuff.
Wow.
I agree. I really think that that's coming, and I didn't even think about the track that we're heading on, and what you mentioned about the percentage of women that's going to be single and childless.
Oh yeah, boy, here it comes.
The pool of them that's in environments where they're around their coworkers, around children, and they're not getting the options they want in the dating market. What you think is likely to happen after 10 years? Well, some of them may hop the other fence. Some may look at kids, or some may look at their coworkers. I'm telling you, this is too much.
I think ultimately you're going to see, because the single ones are going to be lonely, and then the married ones are all going to have that Titanic fantasy where, I'm sorry, but Billy Zane's character did nothing wrong. He was an accomplished guy and she was staring down the barrel of a boring life, and she'd rather be with Leonardo DiCaprio for 3 days than the stable guy. And that's what a lot of these female teachers married are going to take into this environment. They'd rather have the little fling with the 15-year-old than stay with or take seriously the stable guy that they married. How sad is that?
Yeah. And again, it's the branding, it's the media, it's the movies. So many things are conditioning them, again, to not repress what it is that they want and long for. So if you want to leave that man that was cool, but you were bored, or he just wasn't your guy anymore, leave. And so every decision that women are making, they looked at all of the body of evidence. They've constantly been given excuses and reasons to be bailed out from it. And I don't see why we would think this would be another topic where that wouldn't honestly apply. But the number one reason, somebody has quoted it, that I'm going to put out there, for why I think this is even an issue to begin with, is because they don't see boys and men and males as human.
Yep.
I agree.
How about this? Men, even young boys, have a debt to society. They have a debt to women that all of us have to pay. And dealing with victimhood is part of that debt that we have to pay. Because women have been victims for so men have been assaulting women, so it's not. I'm telling you, society and women to see that men of all ages, sons, uncles, fathers, husbands, all have to pay some kind of debt back to women.
Yeah. And I'll even add to that. if you do comparisons between how they treat their feminist ideology and viewpoints and the lens they use to see people and compare it to religion, the same way in the Christian religion, when you're born in sin and quote unquote shaped in iniquity, when you're a male, you're born into all the blame and guilt and that comes with the patriarchal system. So by default, just being a boy in this society, you are guilty of the patriarchy.
I
Of
agree.
all the crimes and ills of the patriarch, this is why every time there's an incident where a guy's being taken advantage of, looks like he's being, they don't even have sympathy to see him as a victim. They say, you should have put yourself in that situation. You knew better. You should have, it's always the guys that should have seen the warning signs, seen the red flags. But for the women, oh, woe is her. Woe is her. So I'm like, they see male existence as a sinful act in and of itself. Just male existence by default makes you guilty. So even when bad things happen to you, it's the shrug, like, like. But I don't think they don't see us as fully human. Messy, what you think?
I was going to say that there's this new trend right now where the grandmothers are talking about how horrible their lives were with these
Oh
men.
Lord, don't get me started.
It's grannies like 80, 90, and now they're getting these interviews. I did one already. I'm unfortunately going to have to cover it. And you think we could say no? See how your grandmothers live? This is what men do. And I'm like, why are y'all taking this trauma on? Please stop this. Y'all, like, they will find a way, women, to be put upon and to be victims. It's crazy to hate men. It's to hate men.
It's the shrug.
My new word is misandrous. I just figured out men a few weeks ago.
Have you seen the women on TikTok who are like in their late 40s and 50s, and they're like, how I made it through the 80s was, I would just lay there and then just let men do it because I was too afraid. A lot of us women made it through the 80s because we just laid there and just let men take it because we were too afraid to say no. Almost every woman in the 80s made it through by just laying there silently, not being able to say no.
It's kind of like, here's the deal with Me Too, and this isn't going to be a popular take, but it's kind of like when people sit around and they tell biggest fish stories, right? And there's this competition to tell the I caught the biggest fish, or maybe when old men sit around and tell war stories, there's always this competition of telling the most elaborate, gory war story because maybe you've been through worse than this other person. So these women are telling war stories and in a lot of cases making up shit, right? And reinventing their past, right? To be able to say, oh, that was bad. This is what I had to deal with my husband. And I was raped too. And I was sexually harassed 50 times. Oh, you were sexually harassed 50 times. I've been sexually harassed 65 times. So it's like, the fish gets bigger and bigger every time you hear the story, right? That's not to say there aren't women out there that aren't abused or have to go through manipulation with harsh men. But now every woman has a story. I don't believe it. If that's the case, then every man is a fucking criminal when they come out the womb. Right? I think this is a, bigger fish story that has pervaded our culture, and now women are jumping, piling on with story after story, which some are made up. Should I say lies?
Come on, man.
Wow.
Are you serious?
I have to get the trend out. Thanks.
Listen, now for people who are very interested in learning out more information, I've actually put a couple links in the description so you can feel free to actually read some of these studies for yourself. And you actually will learn that not only is this conversation is important, like Doug said, we have.
But that just proves that humans, whether male or female, can be capable of being full of shit, right? And you gotta, have the side eye toward just about anybody. Trust, but verify whatever anybody says, right? Because people can lie for a number of different reasons. There can be a financial reason to lie. There can be a safety reason to lie, right? It might be good. It could be because you're trying to protect somebody else or protect yourself. It can be because you're trying to embellish your career, right? Cheyenne Bryant, wink, wink, right? A lot of people lie for a lot of reasons, right? So you can't put lying beyond anybody.
To legitimately reframe our thinking and actually put our antennas back up, not just when men are in the room. We got to stop assuming that boys and men are the only potential perpetrators and realize that anyone could become one. And especially we have a gendered view of this and we have a racial view on this.
Yeah.
Where people will be like, well, a black person won't do it. Yes, they will. A white woman won't do it. Clearly, we've established that their ability to not want to be denied what it is that they want, we've been seeing that since slavery times. When white women want something, they have the capacity and the power not only to get it, but to be able to get away with it more often than not. In a very, very interesting way that I think would hopefully change how it is that we all need to look at this differently. When everybody talks about the Jeffrey Epstein situation, the few people that ever bothered to focus on the woman who actually, what was her name?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
So few people ever focused on she was the one that actually got the girls.
Yes, she was like the herding cattle or something.
So the idea that the person who actually did the courting, did the manipulation, actually got them in the room and actually consisted of getting them transported and delivered to the perpetrators was a woman.
Yep.
And if you keep viewing the Epstein situation as just something involving powerful men, and that there weren't women that were also a part of this, I would argue if it was just the men, it may have been a significant dent in the ability for them to even get access to some of these young girls. But it was because they were trusting of the woman and believing in her promises that they were able to get transported in many of these things. What are you about to say, Doug?
How about this? I'll say it. Cassie and Diddy, how about that?
Oh, hold on.
How about that? I think every woman that was in a relationship with Cassie should be investigated by a grand jury. If the grand jury doesn't find enough evidence to indict, that's fine. I'm talking J-Lo, Cassie, all of them, every single one of them. Everyone that he was in a relationship with in the past 30 years should be investigated by the grand jury. And once again, if the grand jury chooses not to indict, well, good for them. But they should all be investigated, every single one of them.
I just think that it's not just on the one end when it comes to these Me Too cases where more and more evidence is coming out about text messages of ladies planning things, talking to their homegirls, yeah, we gonna get them, girl. You're now seeing the other side of the spectrum of more and more female perpetrators are being caught in these professional settings. And we're now having to, again, reevaluate. All right, now, me and my wife are talking about it now. When our child comes of age, we're going to be reevaluating if we're going to be moving, relocating, doing some type of form of homeschooling, because what they're allowing in the schools and then seeing this type of stuff, you're getting to a point where it's like, shit, I almost don't want to go outside. So, yeah. So I have 3 more super chats to kind of wrap things up. Squeegee Kids, thank you for the 1999. Megan Kelly, when referring to Epstein, he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. Panel is right. They are coming for the kids. Yup, exactly. Because even the differentiating factor, well, these are teenage boys. So this is why it's not as bad when the female perpetrators are doing it versus when the men are doing it. No, like we have an ageist issue, we have a gender issue, we have a racial issue. I would even argue people would be less sympathetic if they found out that the victims were Black girls. If they find out, that's why we don't have the reactions we do whenever all these hundreds of Black girls go missing every year.
I was about to say that. I was literally about to say, if you think Black girls can freaking disappear, end up in dishes, no one cares, think that they're good. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Jeff hit it right on the head.
Yeah. Q to old one again. Thank you for the $5. Not enough male teachers we mate and date from our social groups, and their social group is women and kids. Man, that's the other issue. Men are leaving education. Men are leaving mental health.
Yes.
And so as a result, you have like a let's say 80% chance And if you want a black male therapist,
You can
you got
forget
like
it.
less than a 5% chance to
Mhm.
find a black male therapist. So by default, when
I'm
you're
gonna let him
most
rap.
vulnerable, when you're most in pain, you're engaging with women. And I'm like, man. And then last but not least, essential entities, 1272. Thank you for the $10. Peace and blessings to the family. Salute the truth 100%. Thank you for your work. Protect our children. Honor our great grandparents. The righteous nature of them lives in us. Well, that's in some of us, brother. But thank you for the $10 for sure. Y'all, I appreciate y'all randomly pulling up. Doug been telling me I got to do much more of these topical shows more consistently, and this was one that I was like, yeah, absolutely, I need to do. But to everybody, please, with Messi, if you can, please look her up on social media, especially YouTube, and make sure that you subscribe to her if you haven't done.
All right, I'm gonna let them wrap up. You know, hopefully this was a very sobering conversation. Pay attention to your minors, you know, in your family, even when you send them to school or your trustees, establishments like, you know, the teachers, you know, the schools and things like that with your kids. Watch the vulnerable folks in your family. Watch your elderly, right? When you send them to these hospitals, because a lot of these people that are in their care are predators, right? And some of them intentionally put themselves in those positions so that they can have access to vulnerable children, vulnerable adults. So y'all be safe, right? Like, comment, subscribe. You know, visit the original page for the full video, and y'all take care.